You are listening to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast, the podcast for the off-roader with the short attention span.
Episode 42. You're driving what? Alright, sit back, relax, shut up. Grab a refreshing snack and beverage. The 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast is about to begin. Hello, welcome to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki G. I'm here to inform, delight, entertain, and talk about all things off-road for the next 10 minutes or so. Boy, did I mess that one up. I guess there's no saving it now. We'll just keep rolling on. Alright, welcome to the show. You can catch the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on the Podbean. Yeah, it's really a thing. And Anchor, where this lovely show is hosted. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, head over to anchor.fm, I think, or whatever crap it is. Just Google Anchor Podcast. You'll find it. They host this wonderful podcast for free. They don't charge me a penny. And the quality of the show really reflects that. But overall, I gotta say, I'm very happy with Anchor. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, head over there, check them out. It's free. That being said, you could pay more money and get more production, but let's face it, this ain't that kind of show. Anchor distributes this wonderful podcast for me. They put it on several hosting websites, I guess, that I've never heard of before. Spotify is like the big one. But you could also catch the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on the YouTube at 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast and or my YouTube channel, Nick G. That's Nickg. And if you type in Nick G into the YouTube search engine, you get a bunch of weird stuff. The easiest way to find my channel is to search Brown Mountain Trail Review. That seems to be a very popular video. Whenever I plug that into the search engine, it pulls up my channel. But I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, it's you know all this. You can follow 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on Instagram, the Twitter, Facebook, which I'm really getting annoyed with Facebook and how politically charged everything's getting on it. Here's a tip to everybody out there. We're friends, but I don't care about your political views. Tell me about your wheeling trips and what you're growing in your garden. And leave who you vote for and what they're doing to this country out of it. Politicians, they all suck. Very few of them have the integrity that's really looking out for the American people. The Democrats are no better than Republicans. They're all a bunch of lying snots, and there I said it. So when you're on Facebook, keep that in mind. We don't want to hear your political nonsense. Every once in a while, fine, but the people that drone on several times a day, you know who you are. Jerry, I'm not talking about you. I love your Facebook page. All right, so welcome to the 10-Minute Political Off-Road Podcast. I'm just kidding. I'm done with my political rant. Let's get back to wheeling. 2021 has been the year for, I won't say weird. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Very weird vehicles. I've seen a collection of stuff I never thought I would see on the trail. My whole life I've seen Jeeps and Toyota pickup trucks are the majority of what you see out there. And then you see the occasional F-150, Chevy square body. But most of it is Jeeps. And then you see the occasional Samurai. This year, I have seen a lot of stuff. Recently, I just saw a brand new Land Rover Defender. I thought they stopped making Defenders. Well, I knew they always made Defenders. I know they stopped selling them in the U.S. But apparently, they solved their issues with the Department of Transportation Safety Commission Board, whatever. They stopped selling Defenders in the United States because they didn't meet the crash requirements. And so I guess they solved that. And I saw a brand new Defender out on the trail. And I gotta tell you, it looked like a little H3 Hummer. We're behind it trying to figure out what the heck it was. And finally we caught up to it and saw what it was. Googled it. it's pretty pricey. The one we saw with the trim package and everything, it was between $60,000 and $80,000. I know that's a big price variant, but even $60,000, that's a lot of money to be driving through the woods. And I got to tell you, the couple in there, they were very nice. Talked to them for just a few minutes. They looked like they were on their way to the country club. They were not dressed for the trails. It almost looked like he took a wrong turn and was in a bad neighborhood. But it was very refreshing to see something else other than a Jeep out on trail. And that's the tip of the iceberg. I've seen things from Volkswagen Tiguan's, if I'm saying that right, to we have Miata out on a trail, to Dodge Durangos, lots of Subaru Crosstreks and Foresters. Everybody that has all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive are hitting the woods, and saw quite a few Highlanders coming out now, the newer Highlanders too. And I got to tell you, it's refreshing. I love it that everybody's out enjoying the woods. They're wheeling what they got, and they're loving it. And that makes me happy, except when I'm stuck behind you. If you're driving a vehicle that's not modified, not made for the heavy off-road trails, stay off the heavy off-road trails or go on the heavy off-road trails. But don't clog it up trying to climb over an obstacle. If you can't make it, get winched over, turn around, go back. No shame in turning around. You don't want to put life and limb in danger, and you definitely don't want to mess up your rig. And if you do have a vehicle that's not really well suited for off-road, go out with the expectation that you're not going to go everywhere and you're going to get stuck. And when I mean modified, I mean you just have a little bit of lift for ground clearance. Ground clearance is essential when you're going over some of these obstacles. If you only have a few inches of ground clearance, those rocks are going to scrape the underside of your Jeep, or those rocks are going to scrape the underside of your rig. Not bad, but you got to figure what's underneath your rig. There's drive shafts, there's brake lines, there's gas lines, there's electrical lines, there's muffler. There's a lot of stuff that you could really mess up real quick. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but you got to be mindful. You want to go out and enjoy it, but you don't want to needlessly tear up your vehicle. And if you do want to needlessly tear up your vehicle, let me know when you're going, because I would love to film it. We had a young man fixed up a Miata, or raised it up, cut the fenders, put some big-ass tires on it, welded the diff. I believe that's called a Lincoln locker. And he went out to Uwharrie, and he just tore the trails up. I'm sure that was a good time watching that. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to see it. So I am just all over the place with this. And just to sum it up, wheel what you got, man. If all you have is your mom's station wagon and you want to wheel it and your mom's cool with that, wheel it. That's awesome. But be smart. Take a friend with you. And when I mean take a friend, I mean somebody else in another vehicle that can pull you to safety when things go awry. Expect damage, expect body damage, and don't be a trail hog. If you're blocking the trail or blocking an obstacle, get pulled off of it. Let other people go by, go at it again. And then if you can't make it, have somebody winch you up, have somebody take you over. But don't sit there all day causing a 40-mile traffic jam. We've all seen that. Don't be that guy. We were all that guy at one time or another. I know I've done my fair share of blocking the trails, and I appreciate everybody's patience, and I am going to try hard to not be that guy, and you should too. All right, so I rambled on long enough. I would tell you where you can catch this podcast, but you already know that. I would tell you where to contact the podcast, but nobody's doing that anyhow. I get the few random comments on YouTube, which I enjoy. I enjoy listening to everybody. And I get a few random comments on Facebook. Other than that, the only people that email me are lonely MILFs. Should I leave that in? I don't know. That's kind of risque. Do I really want to be that kind of podcast? Yeah, I want to be that kind of podcast. All right. Until next time, this is Nikki G saying, wheel what you got and be happy.